Hi everyone, this video is a book review about a book that has been sitting on my bookshelf for the past several years, and the title of this book is Practical Reiki. Focus your body's energy for deep relaxation and inner peace, and it was written by Richard Ellis. Now, as I stated, I've had this book for several years. I don't know where I got the book. I probably got it from a thrift store, but it caught my eye recently because I have decided to go even deeper into learning about alternative methods of healing. Now, I've read about healings in Qigong, read about healings in divine science and Christian science, and even though I had heard about Reiki and somehow knew what it was, I did not have a formal, informative foundation on the history of Reiki or all of its different details. So I decided to start learning more about it. Now, also, a disclaimer, if you hear any noise in the background, it's both my air conditioner and my fan because it literally feels like an oven in my room. So if you hear any noise, that's what it is. But anyway, before I get into the book review, let me tell you a little bit about the author. Now, unlike most books, there is no little bio about the author in the back. So I decided to go to his website, which has not been updated since 2011. So I apologize if I have any outdated information. And it says Reiki Master Richard Ellis. He was born November 16th, 1965. So he's probably about, almost 60 years old. Richard Ellis is an author of 2 books and a complementary health practitioner specializing in the relationship between mind and body. He's a master teacher of Reiki, a clinical hypnotherapist, and NLP practitioner. Richard's career in complementary therapy began in the early 1990s, completing his formal training as a Reiki instructor by early 1995 at the Findhorn Foundation in Scotland. Following a period of international teaching tours, Richard was approached to write his first book, Empower Your Life with Reiki, published by Hodder and Stoughton in 1999. This book was published in the United States by Sterling Publishing and retitled Practical Reiki, which is this book, and went on to be translated into several languages. Now, this book is about 23 years old, so it's kind of getting up there. Following the success of Practical Reiki, Richard started working on his second book, Reiki and the 7 Chakras, published in 2002 by Vermilion. It has been translated into several languages and has sold over 40,000 copies in the English language. Richard's keen interest in the chakra system, the nature of disease, and the link between mind and body led him to develop his own training program, utilizing posture analysis and nonverbal communication called The Body Never Lies. He also has studied various forms of bodywork and holds diplomas in NLP and clinical hypnotherapy. Richard continues to research methods of enhancing his busy practice and classes. He runs his practice from Dorset, England, where he lives with his partner and 3 children. And his site has 3 files on what is Reiki, resources, training, and all of his different books. And it also says the Richard Ellis School of Reiki, which I think is pretty interesting. He has a little school, whether it's online or in person. So yeah, that is the story of Richard. And he begins his book with an introduction on how he came to Reiki. What I noticed with his story and with the stories of other people is that it's almost as if the system found them. they had this feeling inside that something was missing, and the system somehow found its way to this person. Even though it is a universal system of healing, I feel like maybe it gravitates towards certain people. I really don't know. But he was in London. Richard was in London in 1992. He was working as a photographer. He said, from my earliest childhood, I had always been curious as to why I was here. I had been lucky enough to grow up in Africa, where the very closeness of nature instills a deep respect for all things living. I was always happiest in the great outdoors. London, by contrast, I found a difficult place to live. Deprived of horizons and sunsets, I felt truly cut off from nature. Then he says that in early 1993, he started to have a number of transcendental experiences. So he was walking down a quiet road in the French Alps, and he looked in the sky and saw 100 billion stars. He said that something shifted in him. It was as if I had caught a glimpse of my intimate connection with everything else in the universe. I felt enveloped in the warm glow of an overpowering love. The profoundly moving experience stayed with me for days. On my return to London, I knew that something inside me had changed forever. By chance, I met a succession of people who had experienced the same sense of oneness. Soon I was swept up in a wave of New Age consciousness. This was a very confusing time for me, yet I felt sure it was right. So, he keeps going, feeling all of these different, things of love, and hold on. Later that year, I visited the Findhorn community in Scotland, where I experienced a sense of communion so intense that it was at times almost too much to bear. I realized that I had spent years developing a hardness around my heart to enable me to function in the world. Suddenly, it was breaking down. The floodgates were opening, and I could do nothing but surrender. So after all of these different experiences, he somehow ran into a woman on a bus, and she was holding her stomach and her heart with her hands, and he asked what she was doing, and she said, Reiki. She told him as much as she could, and he was very fascinated about it. So ironically, a week or two later, his friend called and said that there was one place left on a Reiki course in Findhorn, Scotland, and would he like to have it? The following morning, he received 2 letters in the post. The first contained a background information about Reiki, and he doesn't know who sent it to this day. And the second was from the woman he had met on the bus. So he ends up meeting June Woods, who's a Reiki master, and she became his teacher. And long story short, he is now a Reiki master. So very interesting. Now, what I find interesting about this book is that there are either little to no symbols, the Reiki symbols, in this book. I guess because the author considers it sacred, and some people do not like people publishing the symbols of Reiki because these symbols are used, I guess from what I remember, for the attunements, and it's just an entire initiation process. There's 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree. Somebody said there was a 4th degree, but as far as my knowledge, I'm not to that point of knowledge about Reiki as of yet. So he begins with chapter 1. What is Reiki? And every chapter at the side has a quote or a proverb. And the proverb for this one is a Chinese proverb, and it says, "It is better to light a single candle than curse the darkness." On this page, he has a water droplet, a droplet of water creating ripples. And he says what Reiki is. Reiki is a system of energy healing using spirituality or using a spiritually guided life force energy, a useful tool for self-awareness and transformation, a non-invasive therapy. It is practiced throughout the world. It is a continuation of teachings given by Reiki Grandmaster Dr. Usui at the end of the 19th century. It is an honoring of the Dr. Usui lineage, used in hospitals, private practice, self-care, and in conjunction with many other therapies. What Reiki is not is it is not affiliated with any one religion or religious practice, which is funny because some people that I've met really believe Reiki is a religion. They're like, it's a religion, it's a religion. Like, no, it's not. Like, it's just like yoga. Yoga isn't a religion. But, you know, people don't really go deep and study the surface of things or the foundations of things. They'll just like, if it appears to them as one way, they just feel that is how it is. He says, defining qualities of Reiki. It's practiced by transmitting healing energy through the hands. It's passed on through the initiation process from master to student. It is a healing energy that is guided spiritually and is not based on belief, faith, or suggestion. It says Reiki is a system of healing that originated in Japan and dates back to the end of the 19th century. It is practiced by the simple process of laying on of hands to channel healing energy through the practitioner to the recipient. And I like how he breaks down the word Reiki. This is his translation. If somebody else has another translation, you can tell me in the comments below. Because every time I research something, I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't care if you say you're a master or you've done this. I will take it with a grain of salt until I feel comfortable enough to be like, okay, this is actual facts. So this is what he says. Rei, the whole of creation, R-E. Reiki is a Japanese word that translates as God and light energy. The easiest way to understand its true meaning is to split the word in two. Rei, R-E-I, is directly translated as God or light. It is used to describe the whole of creation, every cell, blade of grass, stone, tree, animal, human, every planet or star. An accurate interpretation of the word Rei could be all that is, both in thought and form. And the second word is Ki, which I kind of like because, you know, I am Kiara. K-I-A-R-R-A, Ki. Ki means life energy. Ki is the name given to the vital energy that is used to animate and give life to this creation. It can normally be seen with the naked eye and appears as dancing electrons of light that move rapidly around. Most forms of martial arts, in particular Qigong and Tai Chi, acknowledge the presence of this energy and focus on redistributing Qi throughout the body to increase health, balance, and well-being. So I guess, you know, like Qi or Chi, like C-H-I, or Chi, Q, or Qi, wait, no, Qi? Yeah, Chi, Q-I, C-H-I, K-I. You know, it varies from place to place. Now, since we are on the foundations of Reiki, in the back of the book, for some reason, I don't know why I put this in the back of the book. It should have been at the front. But it's the origins of Reiki. And this man right here, you see him? He is the founder of Reiki. The first Grand Master, Dr. Mikao, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, Usui, U-S-U-I, founder of the Usui system of natural healing known throughout the world today as Reiki. Now, this chapter, the background of this man, every time I tried to find an accurate background of him, I kept getting different variations of his story. So just like with them, I'm taking this man's version also with a grain of salt, because from all of the different accounts I've heard, a lot of people are conflicting with each other. So my goal is to find as much information as I can about this man and figure it out for myself. But at this time, I'm merely a beginner. So according to this author, Dr. Mikao Usui, the founder of the Usui system of natural healing, was born in Japan in the mid-19th century. He lived in the city of Kyoto and worked as a minister and teacher at a Christian school for boys. It was during one of his classes that he was asked a question that was about to change his life. So one of the students was like, "Do you believe in the miracles of the Bible that Jesus performed?" And Dr. Sui's like, "Yeah, I believe it." And he's like, "Well, you'll have to find proof of it, because you can't simply believe it because it's written in the Bible. You have to see actual proof of it." So this child's question set him off on a spiritual journey to figure out how to perform the miracles that Christ performed. And I think that's so interesting, because there were other movements that began to figure out how Christ healed as well. Like, you had the Christian Science movement, you had the Divine Science movement, which was, I don't know if it was before the Christian Science or stemmed from it, and just other various movements. So he went on a spiritual journey, and this spiritual journey took him to all different parts of the world. He was unable to get this question out of his mind. It is said that he first traveled to the USA and lived in Chicago, where he studied theology and Sanskrit before returning to Japan 7 years later. I think it would have been really cool if he had run into either Emma Curtis Hopkins or Mary Baker Eddy, or maybe a Christian Science practitioner or somebody. I think that would have been such a cool encounter, like how these great minds could have collaborated with each other. I wonder if he ran into any of them, or at least heard about them, if that makes any sense. Another person that was speaking about Dr. Usui said that there were no records of him at a divinity school or a school of theology. So I don't know if he actually went to one, or if that was made up. I don't know. Because according to this other author, there are no records of him attending such a school. Not this author, another one. There he studied ancient sutras and traveled around many Buddhist monasteries. He finally met an abbot who encouraged him to keep up the search and study the original Buddhist sutras in Sanskrit texts. He found mention of methods of healing, but no information that could enable him to activate or access healing energy. So the abbot decided that what Dr. Usui needed to do was go through prayer and meditation. So Dr. Usui decides to go on a 21-day fast and retreat on the top of the sacred mountain Kuriyama near Kyoto. And this is the mountain that he went to for his 21-day fast. So he climbed the mountain and sat facing the east and laid out 21 stones before him. Each day he threw a stone away to keep track of the passing days. Now, even with this mountain story, there's some conflicting reports. There was one report that said he had actually gone up to the mountain to end his own life. He had been married and he had 2 children. So I don't know if his marriage ended, or if he was estranged from his family, or if he gave up his family for a spiritual journey, because sometimes that happens. But there's also conflicting reports about that. So in the early hours of the 21st day, he prayed in earnest for the answers to his questions. As he did so, he saw light moving towards him across the valley. He felt that this was the answer and opened himself up to accept it, despite his fear. The light struck him in his third eye, his 6th chakra on his forehead. Dr. Usui was immediately taken into an altered state of color, light, and energy. Symbols and their meanings were presented to him, and he was shown how to activate healing energy in all who wished it. He heard the words, "Remember, remember." Dr. Usui awoke from his vision to find it was already light. Much time had passed while he was experiencing the vision. Despite not eating for 21 days, he felt full of energy and excitement, and he started running down the mountain. So he runs down the mountain to an inn. He starts eating even though he's been on a fast, and he heals the innkeeper's granddaughter of a toothache or something was happening with the tooth. Then he goes to the abbot. He heals the abbot of his arthritic pain. And I guess while he was running, he fell and cut his toe, but he put his hand on his foot, on his toe, and it immediately healed. So after that, he started practicing his healing powers on other people. He was teaching them how to live and all of that. He soon realized that the people are not taking responsibility for their lives, and that despite the support and encouragement he gave them, they returned to begging on the streets. When he asked them why, they simply said it was easier to beg. He started to lay down 5 principles of Reiki, in addition to the healing. He is said to have initiated 16 masters in Reiki, and he entrusted one of these, Dr. Chujiro Hayashi, to maintain the teachings after his death. And there's also, supposedly, I don't know where I heard this, but there's this sect of Reiki masters. I don't know if it's in Japan or somewhere in Asia, but they had to go into hiding because it was against the system, or the Reiki practitioners and masters were being persecuted. So it's just an entire thing that I'm really wanting to research. And the 5 principles that Dr. Usui laid down were: just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Honor your parents, teachers, and elders. Earn your living honestly and show gratitude for everything. And this is so you can take responsibility for your life. The next person, this man right here, he is Dr. Chujiro Hayashi, the second Grand Master. He was the founder of the first Reiki clinic in Tokyo, Japan, and developed the hand positions and the 3 levels of Reiki. And I guess he was the youngest of the initiates. He was a retired naval officer with a deep interest in spiritual practices. After becoming a Reiki master at the age of 47, he opened a clinic in Tokyo and devoted his life to training others in Reiki. His clinic thrived with practitioners working in groups on patients. Dr. Hayashi established the Reiki positions and the 3 levels of Reiki, devising an initiation for each level. He was a renowned psychic, and sensing the coming conflict of the Second World War, he felt it important to preserve the knowledge he had been given. He passed the mantle of responsibility to a Japanese woman living in Hawaii by the name of Hawayo Takata, who had entered his life many years earlier as a patient at his Tokyo clinic. This is where I start getting even more questions in regards to Reiki. Because how the original Reiki started off was, it was like source came to Dr. Usui and boom, there it was. I don't see any mention of Dr. Usui doing any types of initiations. That's why I said Dr. Hayashi was the one who started the initiations. But why? Why were the initiations started? It wasn't given as an initiation, honestly. I mean, kind of, but not really. It was like freely given because he asked. Knock, and it shall be open. Ask, and it will be given unto you, right? So why the initiations? Why the hand positions? Why? Or was it the way his brain operated? Because maybe he was an analytical thinker and using these symbols and different things, or these hand positions and all these things. Maybe it's something he got from the military, or maybe it was one way that he could help people have a better understanding. Now, another question I have, like Dr. Hayashi, is apparently he ended his own life. But why? I can't find any information on it. Did he actually end his own life, or was it a setup? I can't really find any information on his suicide if it happened. The next person, this lady, or this grandmaster, is Hawayo Takata, and she was born December 24th, 1900. Her parents were Japanese immigrants, her father working in the sugarcane fields. Her father died, and the mother had to raise the children. Because life was hard, Grandmaster Hawayo Takata developed exhaustion and severe abdominal pain. She went to Japan after one of her sisters died. And while she was there, it was discovered she had a tumor, gallstones, and appendicitis. She needed an operation. So while she was being prepared for the anesthetic, she heard a voice which told her that the operation was not necessary. She knew she was wide awake and had not imagined the voice, but had not experienced anything like this before. She asked the doctor if he knew any other way that she could be healed, and the doctor told her about Dr. Hayashi's Reiki clinic. So she goes to Dr. Hayashi and she begins seeing him for treatments. And after 4 months, she's completely healed of her diseases. And she was so impressed she wanted to learn Reiki. So in the spring of 1936, Mrs. Takata received first-degree Reiki. She worked with Dr. Hayashi for 1 year before receiving second-degree Reiki. She returned to Hawaii in 1937 and was initiated as a Reiki master by Dr. Hayashi. He then announced that he wished her to be his successor. She somehow escaped incarceration as a Japanese American during the war. By the time of her death on December 11, 1980, she had initiated 22 Reiki masters. She named Phyllis Lei Furumoto, her granddaughter, as her successor. Now, one thing that really stood out to me with this lady, or this grandmaster, and I'm not trying to be rude, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I just want to say it like how I want to say it. I have a problem with somebody charging $10,000 to initiate you as a Reiki master. Like, it seems as if when Reiki was passed down, it became more complicated and complicated and complicated than the person who had it before. The original Reiki was given by Source. It didn't have yes, it had symbols. Yes, it was like, okay, here's the symbols, their meaning and all of that. But now you're like putting initiations. Now you're charging $10,000. There could have been so many more masters that could have been made if that $10,000 limit wasn't placed there. Now, personally, I don't know why she made it $10,000. Maybe because maybe she did it as a test to see who was really serious. Maybe she thought the information was so valuable that $10,000 was a very small price for the universal energy that you're receiving. I could see that too. Maybe it was so she could be taken seriously because she was a Japanese American. Was she Japanese? Yeah. She was living in a racist society. So perhaps putting such a price range on that would make people take her and the Reiki seriously. I honestly don't know. I'm not saying that people should go around giving their healing energy for free. That's not what I'm saying. Healers deserve to be paid because money is a form of energy. However, I really think she slowed down, how powerful Reiki could have been with that $10,000 limit. I feel that taking Reiki from Japan to the West caused, maybe I don't think they meant it, but it caused the commercialization of Reiki. Just like a lot of things, yoga's been commercialized, hoodoo's been commercialized, Ifa's been commercialized, everything's been commercialized. It's the United States. We'll commercialize your mama, okay? So, that's all I wanted to say about that. Another thing is the author talks about the 7 main chakras and how each of the chakras is connected to an age, an organ, and an emotion, which I know. I knew about the organs and emotions, but I didn't know about the age. It says that every 7 years, we develop each chakra for a period of 7 years. So the first chakra is ages 1 through 7. The second is 7 through 14. The third is ages 14 through 21. The fourth is 21 through 28. The fifth chakra is 28 through 35. The sixth is 35 through 42. That's the third eye. And the crown, or the seventh, is 42 through 49, and it starts all over again. So 50 to 57, that's like the root again. So right now, I am almost done with the fifth chakra. I have 2 more years to go, and then I'm done with the fifth chakra before I move on to the third eye, which I thought was pretty interesting. And this is a picture, close up. You can see it has the, like, this is the glands and all of that. He has pictures of the energetic body and just explains how that goes as well. The etheric body, the emotional and mental body, which you can find in a lot of chakra books. He also has exercises you can do, raising self-awareness, connecting the earth and spirit. That's one exercise. I'm not going to read it all because it's just too long. There's also etheric gazing that you can do with a partner, where you hold their hands and look into their eyes and try to see what is in their face. Which side of their face are you drawn to? One of my favorite exercises in here is the inner child exercise. And it's basically, you have a picture of yourself as a child, and you see how you feel when you look at the photograph. What can you learn from the child? What does the child need? What were his or her dreams? And remember that that child is still within you. When I look at pictures of when I was a child, I was just like all over the place. Like my arms would be like this, or I'd be like in the camera, or I'd be doing something really silly. I just had that type of personality. And I kept that personality for a long, long time, maybe until my early 20s, before I became kind of disillusioned. But I'm getting better. I'm trying to learn how to chill out. But yeah, that's my favorite exercise out of this book. Then there's another portion which I find pretty interesting, which is the male-female split. And it says, the photographs are split in two and rejoined with the 2 left sides of the face together, the 2 right sides of the face together. In Reiki, the left side of the face represents the female and the right side the male. So this is my right side. So this is my male side. And then this is my female side, which makes sense because it seems like the female side is kind of just like the lazy eye side. It says, The two sides reveal the emotional conflicts which are held in the physical features themselves. So this is the original photograph right here. This one is the male side. Like, look how intense they look. Like, they're getting that, like. And then this is the female side right here. And they're just kind of like, I see you, but I know who you are. Nothing can get past me. I see your secrets. All of that. So, first degree Reiki. First degree Reiki. When Dr. Usui first received the Reiki vision and empowerment on top of Mount Kurama, it was an enormously powerful experience. The energy was so strong that it rendered him unconscious. At the time he made the choice to accept the levels of energy that he received, he later decided that in order for Reiki to be passed on in a safe and responsible way, he would need to develop his teaching in stages. Oh, okay, I get it now. So it's almost like those biblical stories that you hear of the priests or the rabbis trying to do some type of ritual, and they have to prepare themselves. They have to like cleanse themselves, put bells on themselves, do their prayers, all of that in order to meet God. Or you hear of people meeting angels or meeting God and they're just stupefied, or they just die instantaneously. Like those biblical stories of the people that touched the Ark of the Covenant and they just automatically died. It was just too much power. Maybe like an electromagnetic energy. I think that's very, very interesting. Okay, now it makes more sense. These different levels would be supported with initiations or series of initiations that would facilitate a change in the person's energy field. The idea was that while this initiation would be strong enough to facilitate a transformation, it would not knock the student out. Today we teach Reiki in this way with 3 main levels, each having a specific set of teachings designed to help the student expand in awareness. So, first degree Reiki. First degree Reiki is an introspective journey into the self, away from the crowd. It is primarily for the self. And it's an opportunity to access the obstacles that prevent people from living in harmony. It's an introduction to working with energy in a practical way. Okay. And it goes on to like how classes are structured and all of that. But that's not the part I'm getting. I'm getting to the initiations part. There are 4 initiations in the first degree Reiki course. Based on original teachings of Dr. Usui, they are designed to open up our ability to channel the healing energy of the universe more effectively. Every person is connected, whether conscious or not. It is their universal energy. This connection is enhanced through the Reiki initiation process. So, how they begin the initiation is the master teacher of Reiki, begins with the crown center. Then in a flowing sequence, we'll work through the third eye, the heart, and the root centers to anchor the energy. The master will then continue through the hand chakras to allow the healing energy to flow from the heart through the hands. Finally, the student is grounded by connecting the energy to the 2 chakras in the feet. This initiation is very powerful and once anchored, remains for life. After the initiation, the student will normally feel strong rushes of heat through their main vertical power channel down the spine. Their hands will become very hot as they are charged with energy. The initiations are seen as healings in themselves. They introduce such a powerful love vibration into the student's field of energy, that any lower vibrational thought patterns and emotions start to rise up into the consciousness. Because of this, a period of integration is required and said to be approximately 21 days, kind of like how he was on the mountain for 21 days. This 3-week period is often accompanied by a fair amount of turbulence as old feelings, memories, and experiences begin to surface. During this time of transformation, it is important to apply the self-healing techniques learned during the first degree. I feel like it's not just making a spiritual change. I feel it's making a physical change. I don't know how I can prove it. I haven't read enough about Reiki, but just from reading that, I feel like it's making a physical change in your body. Because why do you need 21 days? It's altering your physiology. Just like how Emma Curtis Hopkins and other New Thought writers would write, like how your spirit can alter your physiology. It can cause a renewal of your body. So perhaps that is what Reiki has done. I've heard Reiki stories of people, like their diseases disappearing, people getting limbs regenerated and stuff, like. So there must be some type of physical change happening within you. Also, I think it's interesting that we had to go through this certain process to get that energy. Is it a specific energy? I know, like, we have all of the sources of energy. For example, like, you have a deity, but the deity is an aspect of God. So you'll have God, an overall God, and then you have an aspect of God, so they'll name it. It's like, you're Oshun, you're the goddess of beauty. That's your aspect of God. You're Ganesha. You're gonna remove all my obstacles. That's your aspect of God. Like, even in, like, Hinduism, you have Lalita, she of 1,000 names. There's all these different aspects of her. There's avatars of avatars. And each one has its own unique channel. So is this Reiki energy, is it like directly from source, or is it from a particular channel, like the lineage of Dr. Usui? Like, this is a strand and that is a strand. It's just very interesting. Like how you have an apple and an orange, but both of them are fruits, but they're both different. Or how you have a brother and a sister and they're both from, the same parent, but different strains of the parent. So preparation. Wait. I went on too fast. They're just talking about how to treat somebody. Like, they give you step-by-step on how to treat them, but that's not what I'm looking for. Did I pass it? Okay. Yeah, so this is like the treatment, like what you do with the classes and all of that. So if you're interested in that, you can. But remember, you're not going to get any of the symbols. You're not going to get the symbols. You're not going to get the hand motions. You're not getting any of that in this book. The other book I'm reading, you do get that. And a lot of people were mad at this lady. Her name was Diane Stein. Is that what her name is? Diana Stein or Diane Stein? Mad at her for giving the symbols. She even has, like, how you move your hands with it. Like, she put everything in that book, okay? But you're not going to find that in here. Second degree Reiki. After the integration period of 21 days that follows the first degree initiations, students have usually decided whether they wish to continue to gain more skills and understanding in Reiki. In traditional Reiki, a period of 3 months is required before the student is able to continue on to second degree. This allows all the changes that take place in the student's field after the first level time to rebalance and be fully integrated. However, we are all different, and this period is therefore merely a guideline. Normally, the student and master will determine the correct time to move on to the second degree level. The intention of the second degree is to make a deeper commitment to healing both ourselves and others. So the first one was for yourself, and the second one is for yourself and others, like you're expanding throughout the world. During the second degree course, the student is introduced to the 3 key Reiki symbols as shown to Dr. Usui on Mount Kurama in Japan. Each symbol has a specific function, and during the 2-day course, the student will learn the importance of these symbols have in future healing work. Issues held on an emotional and mental level can rise up into our subconscious, and through the skills we learn on the course, we are able to work on these at a deeper level. He also goes into detail how classes are structured, the 3 golden keys of Reiki, or the 3 symbols of Reiki. He refers to them as the 3 golden keys. They are power, emotional, mental, and distant healing. And for each one, he has a page for each key, like the power, the mental, and the distant healing. Now, distant healing is kind of interesting because he gives you a process on how to heal. You can put a picture of the person that you're healing at a distance. You can have a candle nearby, and if you don't have a photograph, you can visualize them or write their name on a piece of paper and place it next to the candle. If you have the second level symbols, then use the sequence your master taught you. If you prefer, you may try this sequence, which is very powerful, and this is the sequence I teach. You say the name of the person 3 times. You do the Reiki power symbol 3 times. You do the Reiki mental emotional symbol 3 times. You do the power symbol again 3 times, the distance symbol 3 times, and the power symbol 3 times. Blow the energy through your palm chakras, holding an image of the recipient in your mind throughout. So this is the girl blowing the power. There's literally, I didn't even notice this. There's literally no people of color in this book, except for the ones that started it. I'm sorry, that's so funny. To me, it just shows me how commercialized they've made Reiki. Working on specific issues. He also goes into detail how to prepare the room, how to close it, how to seal the room in very fine detail. How to pull energy blockages out of the field. I've seen like YouTubers that do Reiki ASMR, they're like, we're doing plucking, plucking, plucking. Or brushing, brushing. 3rd degree Reiki, which is a very short chapter, like it's literally only 3 pages. 3rd degree Reiki or master level is designed for those who wish to fully embrace the principle of Reiki into their lives and teach others these principles. The title master seemingly or simply means that a person has received the final initiation in the Usui system of natural healing and has completed all aspects of that system to a level of understanding, which means they can pass it on to others. Now, the author Stein was having a hard time getting her initiations and trying to find 3rd degree. Like, it took her forever to get to the 3rd degree because people were either withholding the information or they were trying to overcharge her or they were lying, like not teaching her all the symbols. Like, it got really, really down and dirty. So I feel like if you're going to go through this process of Reiki, be sure to find a reliable, professional, trustworthy teacher who knows their information and will give you all of the information that you need. They won't withhold information. They'll give you all of the symbols and all of the attunements. So if you're going to do that, just be on the lookout and do your research, because sometimes I feel some people get scammed. And I'm not saying this because I'm like an expert in Reiki. I just feel like with this type of system, if you're with the wrong crowd or wrong group, you could get scammed. So before you do any of that research on your own, to make sure you're getting what you're properly getting. There are certain criteria that a student will have to fulfill in order to participate in master training. These criteria differ depending on which master you choose. A master looks for people who have the attributes to make a sympathetic teacher and have embraced the principles of the teachings into their own life. Often the student will work alongside the master on a one-to-one basis for a year or more. A financial exchange will take place that reflects the time the master devotes to the student. It's usually received over a weekend. Again, how the course is structured depends on the master you choose. Some take students to sacred sites or places of significance to make the initiation more memorable. The structure of the weekend should involve receiving the master symbols, the single initiation, and instruction on how to pass the attunements. A commitment is agreed between the master and student on the work that is to follow. This will include assisting the master in his or her courses, passing on attunements, and helping to organize sharing groups or doing administrative work. When the student master is ready, they will teach a course themselves with supervision. Once the student master has successfully run a first and second degree course, then they are free to teach alone and are considered a Reiki master. In order to maintain the high standards of Reiki masters, it is important that this apprenticeship is honored. That's so beautiful. I don't know why, that just touches my soul. I feel like I personally want to train in Reiki, but I feel I haven't met my teacher yet. But I feel that's the path that I'm going to be moving along. It might not be this year, it may be in a couple of years, but I'm definitely going to find a very powerful teacher who will instruct me and give me all of the symbols and attunements and everything that I need. But until then, I will just have to venture out on my own and learn by myself. He also goes more into detail about the financial exchange. The traditional Asui system considers the financial exchange to be part of the master initiation. This figure was arrived at by Hawaio Takata, the last Grand Master. At the time, it equated to $10,000, which in Japan is seen as a sacred number, though the amount has obviously grown with inflation. It was felt to reflect the student master's understanding of living in an abundant universe where they were able to create what they needed. In other words, if you really believe that you create your own reality, go and create $10,000. This has attracted a lot of criticism from the non-Reiki community, who argue that if Reiki is given to the universe, why should we pay for it? But who gave us the trees, the waters, the minerals, the flowers, the land, our bodies, or the earth itself? Charging for these things is considered justifiable because they are more tangible. What? Did I pay a man for a tree? Did I pay a man for the water? Did I pay a man for the minerals? I don't think so. They were already here when I came here. But God never charged me. God's like, here you go. Here's some free oxygen for you to breathe. And while you're at it, let me give you the perfect temperature to survive on this planet. Oh, and then you don't really need to grow anything. I just, here's some apples. Here's some strawberries. Here, you just eat it. Eat it. It's here, there. The tree dropped it for you. There you go. But okay. All right. I see what you're saying. The issue here is not about paying for Reiki, but rather how we view money, which is merely a form of energy. It has no value of its own. It is simply a form of exchange designed to equate the energy, either given or received. Receiving the master initiation and the teachings is a gift of universal proportions, and the cost in comparison seems quite insignificant. Okay, that part I understand. There is no price that you can put on a healing energy. There are people that will spend their entire life savings just to have healing energy. That's why it probably said in the Bible where Jesus was like, once the man finds whatever it is he finds, once he finds the truth, he'll give up all of his possessions and follow me. So yeah, I could kind of see it. I can kind of get it. Because there were people that did give up their entire livelihood to follow Jesus because they felt it was way more important than their dead-end job. So, okay, I understand. Kind of. I halfway understand. Maybe I'll get to a point one day where I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. But right now I'm just like, this lady literally made $220,000 because she trained 22 masters. That's $220,000. What happened to the money? Did she use it to like build clinics? Did she use it like for herself? Like what was? Why 10,000 though? We'll never know. I'll have to probably research on her. So he goes into like all of the chakras, affirmations, flowers to look at, living with Reiki, using Reiki on animals, and caution at the end, using Reiki with other healing modalities, and information in the back about resources, which may or may not be outdated. So yeah, I think that was pretty informative. I believe it is a good start for just learning a generic, overview of Reiki. He did go into detail a lot, especially in such a short book. It was literally he put a lot of information in under 200 pages. It was like 120 something pages. So I think he did a pretty good job. I'll be sure to look out for his other books, which I personally feel may have even more in-depth information about it. If you're one that likes pictures, if you're one that has a clinic, that you need some books to put out in the front, I would suggest this book. I give it a thumbs up. Hopefully they can make a second edition that has, more information in it, an updated version, and also updated photographs, and maybe add some people of color in there, because I did not see not one, except for the Reiki masters. So, yeah, I really like this, and I really like this author. So thank you everyone for watching, and have a wonderful evening, and happy reading.